Everyone has their own struggle. God knows I do. What I've been able to do and what I've gone through has put me to where I am today. And I'm really happy with who I am today.
Alex Warren, thank you so much for joining me.
Hey, thanks for having me.
Well, you have one of the biggest songs of the year, VMA's Best New Artist, breaking record after record on the Billboard charts.
Yeah.
How do you feel?
I don't know yet. I'm figuring it out, honestly. It's been really cool, but we've been on the road for 10 months now. So, when these things happen, it's like you're kind of like just doing 800 things at once. And so I think I get my first 3 weeks off after this run, and it's going to be really nice to be home in my own bed and start to think like, oh, cool, this has been like a really crazy year, a life-changing year almost. So I'm really excited.
Yeah, so do you ever, on these shows, do you ever just like look out and reflect at the crowd and you're like, holy shit?
I cry every time.
Cry
I cry all the time on stage. There's a lot of videos of me crying on stage, actually. But no, I think there's something crazy about writing songs that, at least for me, I wrote songs about, loss and the things that I went through. And then to be able to sing them and then have people sing them back, tens of thousands of people sing it back is kind of I don't know if anyone could understand that feeling unless you have it happen. And it's pretty emotional, for sure.
Yeah, you've been very open about grief and loss with your fans. For those who don't know, who was Alex Warren before the music?
Oh, God. A very sad kid. I did a lot of stuff. I was a busser at an oyster bar. I was a competitive surfer and skateboarder. I made YouTube videos and TikToks and really cringy dances with my friends and wife. So yeah, I was a lot of things. And I was always a singer before all that, though.
Oh, yeah?
Yeah.
When did you get into the music?
I was 5. I was 5 years old, and my dad bought us, me and all my siblings, instruments, and we would do talent shows every Friday for them. And I was obsessed with the Naked Brother Band at the time, which just means that I would sing in my underwear every Friday with my family. That's pretty much it.
And when did you, because, you've just kind of blown up so massively. What was the journey between, starting singing at 5 and getting into the music? And then all these years pass by and now we see, Alex Warren, the musician. What happened in between those years? How did you I know you were always into the music, but how did you decide to really pursue it? And when did that happen?
It was difficult. I grew up in a really non-supportive household. I grew up in a household where, for trying things differently, like trying to do anything that wasn't stereotypically like go to college and get a degree and everything. I really, really wanted to be in something creative. I always wanted to be a musician. I always wanted to be a singer. I wasn't necessarily the best singer, and my mom wasn't a very supportive person growing up. So whenever I tried, it was very much hey, stop doing that, So it's definitely been it's been a struggle of kind of just like, becoming a musician and feeling okay and wanting to do it. So yeah, it took me a long, long time to get good. And I've always done like vocal lessons and all these different things. And, some people have it naturally and some people learn it. And I was one of those people who just kept trying and, really wanted it.
Yeah. There's also, before you were a musician, you were a creator of sorts.
Yeah.
Tell me about that.
Yeah, I always wanted to be a musician, so I would always post singing videos on the internet. If you scroll all the way down, my entire, social media account was me singing, and it did not do well. No one cared. It just wasn't a thing that anyone was engaging with. I met my girlfriend at the time, and I posted a singing video with her, and a plethora of things. But the things that really stuck was when I would post with her. So I started doing that a little more when we were homeless, and it started sticking, and it did really well. And once it did well, I was like, you know what? Let me try and do the singing thing again, and it did really well, and I pursued it.
Homeless.
Yes.
More.
Oh, cool. Yeah, that's sorry. I've just kind of greased over that one. No, I was, my mom kicked me out when I was 17 years old, and I was sleeping in a car or in my friends' floors or anything. Just kind of, they would sneak me in because their parents weren't too fond of a kid who dropped out of high school at the time. So yeah, I was sleeping in cars and whatnot. I met my wife on social media, on Snapchat, which is crazy of all places. And yeah, she she moved out and we started sleeping in a car together, and I posted videos with her, and the first one I posted did well after singing in 24-hour fitness bathrooms my last 3 or 4 months and no one caring. So when I saw that people cared when I would post with her, it kind of was like, cool, like, let's keep trying this. And we got out of homelessness and never looked back.
How did you get out of homelessness?
I started getting money from filming those videos and posting them.
Oh, wow. Okay.
Yeah. Started getting paid for that. We got our first apartment together and didn't look back.
Amazing. Also, your wife moving out and moving into a car with you, that is incredible. You are very lucky.
I know. Yeah.
Never take that for granted.
No, not at all.
There was also a hype house era.
Yeah, of course.
Tell me about that. I'm so curious.
Sure. I mean, it was the formative years of my life. I was 19 years old when we started the Hype House, and you move into a house with a bunch of your friends, and it's kind of like a frat house if you think about it. Like, you went to college, you move in with all your friends, and there's empty chip bags all over the kitchen counter, and there was probably 30 people in our house at a given moment anytime. And so like it's funny looking back on that, and people ask me a lot of times if I regret anything, and it's so funny to think that, because no, I was a 19-year-old kid who was, I feel like if anyone's college years was filmed and posted, I highly doubt anyone would want that. Like, so I think it's just a unique situation where you kind of get abundant amount of people looking at everything you do. And it was really cool though. I met so many amazing people. I'm still friends with everyone there. So it's been really fun to be able to look back, and I go to dinner sometimes with some of them, and it's like, was that normal what we did? And it's cool to kind of like, there was a lot of guilt during that time. There was a lot of like, like, oh, wow, I messed up and now the internet hates me. And I think that's a weird thing to think as a 20-year-old while you're making mistakes. I think it's normal. And I almost think it's needed to make mistakes at that age, from 19 to 20, whatever, I just think it's a unique situation where you make mistakes and then immediately you get the repercussions of it. And then all of a sudden, you're viewed as a bad person. And I always felt bad for a lot of the kids in that house.
What kind of mistakes? Like, give me
silly ones, like boyfriend and girlfriend drama. Like, I remember watching like a lot of my friends go through it, and I was like, this is high school, college drama, and all of a sudden there's millions of people involved in it. And I was like, I always felt bad for them. And so we go out to dinner sometimes, and it's kind of like a beautiful thing to be able to watch someone who was 16 or 19 and now 20 something be able to be like, that wasn't normal, but that like was so cool to be able to experience. Yeah.
Hype House was like one of, it was kind of what blew up the idea of like these houses where all these creators live together. Was the biggest
most dystopian
one.
thing. I think looking back at my childhood, that's the most dystopian thing I think I've ever seen. Yes.
How did you get the idea for it, or were you like pulled into it? What was that?
Well, I lived with my friends in the apartment I told you about. So I had a bunch of my friends. We'd film videos together. It was a pretty.
That's how it was born. Oh wow.
Well, it was just a normal thing, and I had met someone else, and they were like, "This is really cool. We should do it at a bigger scale." And I was kind of like, the opportunity to live in a big house, heck yeah. And so we did it, and we moved into a big house and just started inviting all our friends to live with us. And it was an accident. It didn't mean to happen. We went and we're like, oh, we should get art for around the house, and so let's take pictures together. And so we rented out a studio, and we all took pictures in a random place, and we filmed the TikToks that day, made an account and posted it, and we needed a name, so I came up with a name, and then the next day we had millions of followers and people going, wow, this is cool.
Did you guys make money from that? Like, a lot of it?
It just depends. I think the money that was made went towards the house and some other people, and but some people made money, sure.
Okay, nice. Do you feel like some people now view you as a creator instead of a musician? How do you navigate that? What would you like to be known as?
I don't care. I think that's the coolest thing is, like, for me, I feel like I've been a musician for like professionally, at least doing this successfully for the last 4 years, 4 years of my life. So if you know me as a creator, I don't think that's a problem. I think the fact that I make music that's supposed to help people. I also make music that is about my wife that I think is also just equally as important. But I think a lot of my music is about loss and grief and the things that I've gone through in my life, breakups, and even finding love. And the music that I make, I think, is very much tailored to who I am. And whether you know me as a creator or a musician, as long as that music is helping you in some way, I don't care. You know what I'm saying?
I love that, yeah.
I think there's such a stigma with it. I think it's very much like, oh, that's a TikTok musician. Who cares? You're still a musician, you know?
Yeah.
And that's all that matters, in my
Yeah,
opinion.
that's very true. There is a stigma around it. With your music being, so personal, so emotional, how do you, navigate that and, keep your own mental peace while writing this? Or is it like therapy for you,
It's like therapy for me. I write these songs with my best friends in my room, you know? Like, these are things, it's not like, it's just, to me, I'm writing them and I cry when we're writing them, and I listen back to them, and it's so funny. I'll get a song back and I will literally blast it in my car, driving on a 40-minute drive somewhere. And I'm crying and I'm bawling my eyes out because it's kind of coming to terms with the things that I've tried so hard to forget in my life. And then when I sing these songs live, it's people going through that experience that I went through months before releasing the song. And I think that's really cool. I think that's like the coolest part of what I do, is I'm able to come to terms with the things that I've gone through. And then on top of it, I'm then able to indirectly have people feel I connected to that song in some way.
Mm-hmm. Ordinary was about your wife.
Yeah.
It's obviously blown up.
Thank you.
To massive extent. What do you think made that happen? Why do you think people resonated with it so much?
I think that song, at least to me, like, and I think anyone can have their own opinions about the song, but I think that song's unique as heck. You know, like, I truly think that Ordinary is a song where when we wrote it and we cut it and it was finished and we all listened back to it together, we all thought that was a special song. And that was something for me where I was like, wow, it sounds so familiar, but I've never heard a song like this. And I don't know, I think especially with COVID and everything, people just weren't getting married, or people postponed a lot of the things in their lives that they felt was important, whether it was falling in love or, a lot of people broke up because of COVID. A lot of people got divorced because of COVID. A lot of people found love, but then weren't able to act on that love. And a wedding was so different. And I think when this song came out, it was kind of like a reset of like, oh, everything's coming back to normal and people are falling in love again and people are going out and going to concerts. And I think that song became an anthem for something much more than what it was. It's about falling in love, but also people are using it in memorials. People were using it in, walking down the aisle. Like, it was such a universal song for so many things. And I just think it became that. Yeah.
With it having gone so viral, is there a pressure you feel, and you might not at all, but to make another record-breaking song?
No. Ordinary was so big, I don't think it's possible.
Oh, wow. Okay.
Does that make sense? Like, I don't think I'll ever have a song as big as Ordinary, and that's totally okay.
You might be undermining yourself.
That's fine though. I never thought I'd even have one. The fact that I got one, I'm fine. I don't need. I could keep putting out songs and they could keep doing fine, and I will forever be grateful. I think it's great that the one song that was so big like that was a song about my wife. But like, I've had a few songs now that have done really, really well, and I think a lot of people would be like, oh wow, it's not as big as Ordinary, but I think that's unrealistic. I think a song like Ordinary happens once in someone's career.
That's a great answer. Having broken into the industry now, you've made so many friends and so many. Yeah. What's it like? Do you ever like sit and think about, okay, what is my life now?
Yes, I had a moment like that the other day, and it was insane. I had a friend of mine that I've always really looked up to text me and be like, hey, someone's gonna call you, and someone FaceTimes me, and it was one of those people who I have grown up watching on TV, and I was like, what the heck is happening? And they would just start talking to me as if it was like the chillest conversation in the world. And that's when I went to my wife after the phone call and I go, in a million years, would you have imagined that I would have gotten a text from this person saying that this person's gonna call you, and all of a sudden I get a FaceTime? And it was just a weird moment. Or like, playing with Ed Sheeran was another thing where Ed is one of my good friends now, which is mind-boggling. Ed Sheeran is one of the reasons I got into music, and the way that he is, like, just in general, is a very good person, and I've been able to meet people like that. It's just in this industry, it's really crazy.
Yeah. Have there been any, these expert musicians, so to say, that have been really supportive to you?
Yeah. I've gotten really. I don't want to name drop, obviously. But Ed is one of those people who I've emailed a lot and just been able to, get questions answered and things like that.
Okay, I love that. What was it? How did you get signed to Atlantic?
Oh, I had been independent for a little while now. My first song did really well, and after that, songs had been, doing really well on social media. I didn't want to sign to a label for a long, long time until I realized it was kind of like I wanted to start touring, and touring is expensive, especially since everything. So I wanted to get some support on that. And, you know, becoming a musician more than ever now has been so easy, but at the same time, you know, having support in some way was a really important thing for me, but also I didn't know what I was doing. I tried so long to become a musician and singing in bathrooms and whatever the heck that I didn't, you know, doing covers that I didn't really understand what it meant to really be a musician. Whether it was, you know, taking music theory lessons, I didn't go to college for it. I taking vocal lessons, guitar lessons, really like becoming a musician. I think there's one thing to sing covers and, you know, sing in a room with acoustics, and there's another thing to appreciate the art. I think there's been people who, you go to Nashville and you'll find someone 10 times more talented than me on the side of the road singing at a pub, you know? And I didn't like the idea that I was doing something successfully without putting in the work to do that. And I wanted to give the craft at least a chance, or at least I wanted to become a better musician, regardless of how well I was doing. Atlantic saw that and they're like, you could be better. You know, I think a lot of labels were like very much, oh, you're perfect. You fit right in. We'll give you everything you want. Atlantic Records was, you could be better, and we could help you be better, and we'll help you do all that. So I started taking music theory lessons. I signed to Atlantic Records. I took piano, guitar lessons, vocal lessons. My entire week was just lessons all week for years.
Okay, very cool.
Yeah.
You said something to the extent of it's easier than ever to become a musician now, and that's so true with AI and all these like technologies that like make it easier for music to be discovered. Have you ever taken advantage of any of those, or you thought about that? AI
No.
and tech and
I'm not into the AI thing. I think, you know, when it's TikTok, it's an AI-based algorithm. So,
Yeah.
I mean, that's cool because you're getting shown what you want. But I think when it comes down to creating things, I haven't gotten on the AI train. I just think, you know, for me, at least with my music, I don't think AI would help me in any way. I make music that's personal to me, and I want the imperfection to show in that. So if I write a song, like I didn't graduate high school, there's going to be some grammatically incorrect things. I mean, if you follow me on social media, you're going to see me post a story and things are not going to sound right. And I think that that's a personable thing that makes right with the story. People know I didn't graduate high school. People know that I don't have certain things in my life that would have made me this way. And so when I post something, it's like, oh, Alex wrote that. I think when you're listening to a song and it's AI, I guess you could say, oh, make it imperfect, but I don't know. I truly haven't gotten behind it. But I think in creative ways in general, I've just really stuck with the imperfection that I'm leaning towards.
I love that.
And it keeps it emotional.
Yeah.
I think you could be perfect, and I think there's singers who can sing perfect notes, but at the end of the day, I think people are gravitated more towards a flat note that shows emotion opposed to a perfect note that you kind of can't see past.
I think another thing, you know, as looking from the outside in, you have been so like honest on social media, and you're just like yourself. But when we were talking earlier, you told me you're very offline now. So explain that to me.
I don't check my comments anymore. I don't have social media on a phone that I go on, just so I'm disconnected from it. I think the biggest thing is I'm the biggest people pleaser.
Okay.
I care so much about what people think of me, and as honest as I am, that's the biggest thing where it's like, especially as I've gotten a bit bigger with this song, you know, people who don't like me are going to be vocal about it. And I've noticed that, you know, someone will look at my discography, or they'll look at my social media, or they'll look at my, you know, my Spotify account, and they'll look and they'll be like trying to understand how I got big or how my music got big. And they're trying to, you know, dissect it and be like, oh, well, he did this and he did that and he did this. And when I watch a video that's not true, I want to try so hardly to prove them wrong. But at the end of the day, what I've learned is that person doesn't want to be proved wrong. That person wants to believe what they want to believe. And so I've spent so much time on my phone before a show looking and Googling my name and looking up on Twitter. And people are like, oh, well, he does this and he does this and he buys this and he does this. And it's like, no, I don't. And I want to make a video being like, no, that's not true. I don't do this. No, I don't do that. No, I don't do that. And then at the end of the day, I realized that if I make that video, they're not going to take that answer. They're not going to believe me. And so it's worked me up a real much before a show. Now I get on stage and I'm just upset and I'm sad because I know what's true and I will never be able to prove it wrong.
Okay.
And that's something that it was really difficult for me. So I just decided to fully like take a step back. If I see my name on social media, I swipe. So yeah, I'm disconnected because now my entire For You page is just cars. And it's like things that I like are, it's a bunch of dog videos and a bunch of toddlers like trying to learn how to walk and then they eat shit.
But for every, hater out there, you have 10 other fans. So
Yeah.
if not social media, what is the best way for you to connect to your fans?
My shows. I think that's the funnest thing for me, is especially why I don't know if you've ever seen my show or clips of it, but I'm very, very involved with the fan or the crowd or whatever you want to call them. I truly just, I walk out and I see a bunch of people who want to see me. And so it's, to me, I'm like, oh, cool. Let me talk to these people, find out why. And a lot of times during my show, I will stop in the middle of a song or after a song, but when there's supposed to be another song, and just talk for ages, and it becomes just a fun moment where I just have no filter and we get to have a conversation.
I love that.
I know.
What can we expect from you in the next year or so? What are you looking forward to?
I don't even know. Shows. I'm just playing shows. I've been touring on nonstop for the last year and a half now, and we go into next year the same way. I think that I'm gonna definitely find some time to write another album and get that up before the next tour. And I'm literally, all I do is music. I tour music and then I write music.
Do you get burnt out at all?
I wouldn't say burnt out. I just get tired and I want a day off, or like 2 days off. And if I get the 2 days off, I really appreciate it. And then I just go right back to it. Because it's so funny. I will want a week off, and then 3 days into that week, I'm like, wow, I miss playing shows. It's so fun. Or I miss writing music. And so I'm like, hey, can we like do this again and like stop at the breaks? And they're like, sure. And then so I do it again, and after like 4 months of it, I'm like, hey, can I have a week off? It's a repeating cycle of like, I miss it. Can we please go back? And so just finding a balance of really like, because I have a wife and I have dogs and I have friends. And then those are things when you're traveling around the world all the time, you might not always be able to give attention to. And I have an amazing wife and I have amazing friends. So it's just trying to find a balance of, I really love this, but at the same time, I need to stop to be able to give my friends and my wife, the attention they deserve.
That's incredibly fair.
Yeah.
If you could go back in time and tell, 5-year-old Alex who was singing in his underwear where you are today, what would you say to him?
I don't know if I would say anything. And I think that's a question I get a lot. I think I get that one, and I get, if I could, would you do anything different, or do you regret anything? Or if you could, would you trade all of this for your parents to come back? And I think those are all meaningful questions and hard questions. I think what's difficult is what I've been able to do and what I've gone through has put me to where I am today. And I'm really happy with who I am today. I'm really happy with my life. I'm really happy with my wife. It sounds like a Dr. Seuss thing, and I'm so sorry, it's not. No, but I'm really happy with my friends and my life and where I am today. And it's been a long time doing that. Like, I was unhappy with who I was and the person I was becoming and the husband I was and everything that I was until I started to do this. And it's the weirdest thing ever. It's like, it's funny because when I was 5, that's all I wanted to do. There was nothing else in my life except for music. And as things were introduced in my life, I became unhappy, and then I found music again and I was happy. And it's so interesting, as I wouldn't go back to 5 years old and say, keep doing this no matter what, because then I wouldn't have been able to appreciate where I am today. And that's the hardest part, is I think, you and whatever you've gone in through your life, and everyone has their own struggle. God knows I do. And I think that's interesting, is you probably went through things that put you to where you are today, whether it was you went in the wrong direction and you realized that wasn't the right direction. And so I've just had a lot of time to reflect during these last few months, and I've realized that the biggest thing is I would not be who I am. I wouldn't be appreciative of what I'm doing, and I definitely would not have the life that I have if I did not make those mistakes, and if I did not go in the wrong direction, and if I did not have those people who said you couldn't do it, and I did not have, the ounce of, there was a time in my life I was a piece of shit. And, and like that's kind of put me into where today I can appreciate and I can love differently,
What do you want your legacy to be?
Wow. I've actually have never thought of that. My biggest thing is I feel like all of this has led up to me to be a father. Watching my dad, if you don't know anything, my dad knew he was going to die before I was even born. So growing up, my dad knew he had limited time, and I did not know that. When my dad died, I asked everyone what he was like. What was my dad like? Because I was 9 when he died. And the one thing everyone always said was he was a good person. That was the one thing, no matter who I asked, people who hated him, the one thing they always said was, your dad was a good person. He could make friends in every room, and he was a good dad. To me, when I'm gone and people ask what I'm like, and my kids and my grandkids ask what I was like, I don't care if they say I was a great musician. I don't care if they say that I made great songs or I could write a love song. I care if they say that I was a good person and I was a good dad. And that's all that matters to me. Yeah.
Thank you so much for
Thank you.
joining me.
Thanks for having me.